But my first question, it looks to me, and I was impressed to see Brian Stelter use this word on his Sunday show on CNN, his show about the media. I think it's called On the Media. It looks to me like the word fascism is back. Not just the word, actually the concept that fascism is back. And that it's going to be on the ballot this fall, this November. It'll be under the R category, the Republican category, but fascism nonetheless. When fascism first reared its ugly head in Europe back in the 1920s, and in Japan, by the way, in the 1920s, it signaled a coming war. And now we've got this newer and slicker form of, I call it neo-fascism, neo being, from the Greek for new, the new fascism here in the United States. And, is it going to bring a similar crisis? I think, personally, that at this moment, we in America stand, and frankly around the world, the free world, stand at the threshold of momentous change. Genuinely momentous change. I mean, it's rarely discussed in this frame, but I think that the next two elections, the one this year and the one in 2024, are pretty much certainly going to define what form of government the United States will have for at least a generation. Are we going to have a democratic republic like Ben Franklin told the wife of Philadelphia's mayor back in the day? A republic, ma'am, if you can keep it? Or are we going to have Trumpy fascism? Frankly, I think that every day goes by diminishes the chances of Trumpy fascism. This is my good news for 2022. But it is still a force to be reckoned with, and it has not gone away. And in many ways, it's reconsolidating. So what we have right now is the Democratic Party, at least institutionally committed to America finally realizing this, this vision that was laid out in our founding documents, that all people are born, with the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and the governments are instituted among us, among people to protect those rights. And the Democratic Party has rejected gerrymanders. Michigan, for example, is going to have their first non-gerrymandered map, which is going to be very, very interesting how this changes the races for the Michigan House and Senate, and frankly, for members of Congress of Michigan. So that's a good thing, ending gerrymanders. And of course, there's legislation to do that as well, sitting in the Senate. And voter suppression, Democrats are committed to ending voter suppression. Now, I say institutionally because we've got two Democrats, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, who so far have been kind of holding up the show. But I have a feeling this thing is going to get through, that the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and that the Freedom to Vote Act, at the very least, are going to pass in the next week or two. We'll see. I may be wrong. But even if they don't pass, it will be, if they don't pass, it'll be because one or two Democrats decided to block them, essentially on behalf of right-wing billionaires and particular industries, or out of some bizarre loyalty to the Republican Party. But the Democratic Party institutionally is committed now to democracy, which is a big deal. I mean, the Democratic Party was committed to this in the 60s with the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, but then they kind of lost their way in the 80s, the 90s, the first decade of the 2000s, and now they're back. I see this as a good thing. At the same time, the Republican Party, with the exception of Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, has just doubled down on Trumpy neo-fascism. So number one, what do you think that's going to mean for the elections coming up in 2022? Is this going to be a blowout? I mean, are the Democrats just going to overwhelm the Republicans? Because the rest of America is getting, how toxic the GOP has become? Or does it mean that their voter suppression efforts are going to be successful? And they're gerrymandering and they're going to hang on to power and stuff like that? I'm inclined to view this with optimism. But I'm also enough of a historian to know that things have not always turned out for the best. That said, we suffered this incredible attack on our democracy on January 6th. And we're still here. And that cannot be said of other countries. When Russia, when Hungary, when Poland, when the Philippines, when India, when all of these countries that have now essentially become oligarchies, when they confronted the possibility of remaining democracies or strengthening democracy, they flinched. And that's frankly what I think is going to be on the ballot this fall. And I think it's going to be a big deal. And I am hopeful that fascism will be defeated in America, and I'm more than happy to play my role in seeing that happen. It's what gets me out of bed in the mornings. How about you? What do you think?